Hey guys, it's Che again. We've got an incredible video for you. I know we've all felt scared walking home alone at night, and this video is not going to make you feel any safer. We've got top 10 scary alleyway stories. Now this one's a little bit more obscure, so I bet you'll never guess what we put as number 1. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Number 10, the Montreal Alleyway Creeper. This story was written by Redditor Simsalabim. She said she was living in Montreal at the time and she would often walk down alleyways on her trip home from work. This wasn't strange or common because it was summertime, so the alleyways were often crowded, there was a lot of people around, she never felt unsafe. But one day she was on her way home and she heard someone yelling from their balcony, but it was in French so she couldn't understand what they were saying. She kept walking and then a man came bursting out from his back gate. He was speaking French, so she couldn't understand what he was saying. Once the guy realized that she couldn't understand him, he switched to English and he said, "There's someone following you. He's been in and out of alleyways, he's been ducking behind garbage cans and behind people's garages. We could see him from our porch." She didn't believe him, but the guy insisted that someone had been following her and walking behind her for a while. The guy started walking down the alleyway, then out of nowhere, a man pops out from behind a wall and starts running away from them. She didn't get a good look at him. Before he left, they made a split second of eye contact. She never knew she was being followed, and if it wasn't for someone spotting him, who knows what would have happened. Number 9, Alleyway Admirer. This story of summer love comes from Redditor Meandering Mind. He starts the story by describing an alleyway that was behind the house he grew up in. It was fairly busy and led up to his back driveway. One day, him, his sister, and his 2 friends, all around age 9 and 10, were all hanging out in his backyard. They see a brown tan truck. If you drive a large tan truck into an alleyway, alarm should go off and everyone's home for 300 yards. 5 minutes later, they see the truck go by again. This time they get a good look at the guy. He was a white man with a porn stash. That's the trifecta: white man, porn stash, tan truck. If those 3 things go together, you're gonna end up a lamp. The man came back a 3rd time. This time he stopped. The kids asked him what he wanted and he replied, "You," and then sped off. The kids told their parents, but they never found out who the man was. That's why kids should watch Law and Order, so they don't get murdered by obvious murderers. Number 8, the cat killer. This story is about a somewhat famous Croydon cat killer. The Croydon cat killer is some sicko who lures cats to him, then removes their microchips, kills them, and throws their bodies in their owner's house to torment them. I'd love for him to be preying on some poor cat and then get devoured by a tiger that escaped from the local zoo. Specifically, this story comes from Redditor Chloe V. She was well aware of the cat killer. One night she called from her back porch to her cat Alfie. The cat scurried up the steps, and then when she heard a voice from the alley go, "Alfie." She ends the post by writing, and I'm censoring, "To the sick bleep who wasn't shown enough love from mommy and daddy. I know that if I ever catch you, I'll skin you alive, hang you from a tree with your minuscule bleep hanging from your mouth. I promise." I think I just found my wife. Number 7, he waited for me in the alley. We snagged this one off of Let's Not Meet on Reddit. This one was written by Amanda. She said she was 23 at the time and over late one night at a friend's house. On her walk home, she noticed a man walking in front of her and he kind of was swaying side to side like he'd been drinking. The man must have heard her walking. He started walking slower, stopping at crosswalks even though there was no cars, and he was continuously looking back at her. Then he turned down an alley. Amanda called her dad to pick her up, and that's when she saw the man pop his head out from the alley. He had been waiting for her to walk by. This mysterious creeper started walking towards her and started sprinting down the street with her dad still on the phone till the 2 finally met up. She said she was so scared that night she couldn't stop shaking. Number 6, how I saved my brother from getting kidnapped. This story took place in 2015 and the writer was 15 at the time. The writer said his mom left him and his younger brother at home alone while she went out to get groceries. The 2 got a little bored, so they decided to go to the local park to kick around a football. But while he was getting ready, his little brother left without him and it was already getting dark out. Furious, he stormed over to the park yelling for his brother to come home, and that's when he heard a muffled noise come from an alleyway. He saw a man with a hand over his brother's mouth trying to rip his clothes off, so he sprinted towards the guy, tackled him to the ground, beat the dude down, grabbed his brother, and ran home. They both got home, called the police, told their mom, but they never found the alleyway creeper. Number 5. Just wait until mommy and daddy aren't home. This one was posted a few years ago on Reddit by Jonah. She wrote that she was about 9 at the time and her sister was about 12. It was a hot summer day and her sister decided to go to Dairy Queen to get a blizzard. And that's when things turned upside down. Get it? Like upside down? Like a blizzard? On their walk to Dairy Queen, there's a man in a lawn chair with a tank top and a beer gut, basically child molester chic. He started asking them questions like what were their names, where they lived. He offered them to come inside his home for ice cream. They ignored him and kept walking. Then his tone got very angry and he said, just wait until mommy and daddy aren't home. On the way home, he was still out there and shouted at the girls again. They ducked into a friend's house until it was safe. When they got home, they told their parents, who called the police. When the police investigated him, they found drugs in his home, that his brother was a child molester and also his fashion designer. Somebody was in my dad's house. To set the stage on this one, we have 2 young boys staying up late, playing Xbox, living the dream. I bet there was Mountain Dew and Doritos for as long as the eye could see. Well, they needed an extra controller, and one of them lived close, so he walked back to his dad's place to grab the controller. But the front door was locked and his dad wasn't home yet. So he thought he would try walking through the alley to the back of the house. But when he started walking to the back of the house, he started getting this unsettling feeling and decided to go back to his friend's house. When he got back to his friend's house, his friend called him a wimp, they grabbed a flashlight and the 2 went together to his dad's house. They were going through the alleyway to the back of the house, they went through the back door. That's when he started getting the unsettling feeling again. This time he had an urge to shine the flashlight on the staircase, where he saw a man with quote, piss yellow teeth smiling at us. He motioned for the boys to come closer. Has that ever worked? They ran out the house screaming for help. A neighbor came out, but by the time they went back to check, the lemonade smile guy was gone. Number 3. Dressed up demon. The worst thing you could run into in an alleyway is probably like wild dogs, those weird dudes from Spider-Man 1, and those thoughts that keep coming back about that weird thing you did like 8 years ago that no one cares about but you can never forget. Well, this one might be worse than all of them. It comes from Redditor It Kills Like Mine. She says this encounter her aunt had was so horrifying she won't even talk about it, and she had to get the story from her grandmother. One night, her aunt got into a fight with her grandmother and stormed out. But before she left, her grandmother said, "I hope the devil appears before you." That night, her aunt was out with some friends, it got late, so she decided to walk home. While walking down an alleyway, she heard someone say her name. She looked back and saw a tall man in a trench coat and a hat. The hat was covering his face. The man kept repeating her name as he got closer and closer. Eventually, she caught a glimpse of his face. He had thin, dark skin, sunken cheeks, and big, yellow eyes. I bet in practice creepy, but I have a lot of outfits that would look a lot better if I had yellow eyes. She let out a scream, ran home, and won't talk about it to this day. Number 2. College girl's unwelcome visitor. This one comes way of Megan. Her and her 3 classmates were renting a place together in Thunder Bay, Ontario. One night, they heard some rustling in the alleyway behind their house, but didn't really make much of it. Later that night, there was a huge crash, and then they heard footsteps. She laid in bed, petrified, as her doorknob turned and the door creaked open. Standing there was a dirty man with a toothless smile, mumbling to himself, and he just stood there, staring at her, then walked away. She wanted to call the police, but her phone wasn't in her room. For the next 30 minutes, he walked up and down the halls, just staring at the girls, and then just left. Number 1. A serial killer, Nathaniel Jonah. This story is about a young girl who was living in the same neighborhood as a man named Nathaniel Jonah. He would be seen around the neighborhood and was always a little creepy, but never seemed too dangerous. She said one day when she was about 11 or 12, she was walking home with her sister and they noticed a car was following them. Anytime they tried to speed up, the car would speed up. Anytime they tried to slow down, the car would do the same. The 2 girls took off running and jumped fences and managed to get home safely. And guess who it was? It was everyone's creepy neighbor, Jonah. On a separate occasion, the young girl saw Jonah in an alleyway outside her house digging a hole. Just doing some like casual night digging. No one who digs at night has ever been up to anything creepy. She even said she saw him with what she thought was a bag of white sticks, but thinking back on it, they were for sure bones. For those of you who don't know, Nathaniel Jonah was a child molester, serial killer, suspected cannibal, and all around good guy. He was given a 130-year sentence. A suspected cannibal for number 1, not too shabby. Let us know in the comments which stories you like, link your best stories that you know about. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I've been ARENT, and I'm going to see if my windowless painter van qualifies for Uber.